Hello everyone, Namaste and welcome back to my channel. My name is Trishala and today I have a beginner friendly headstand tutorial for you, especially if you're starting from scratch. So, when you're ready, sit on your mat with your knees separated in a Vajrasana. And we're going to just prepare for this headstand first by trying to practice one of the most basic poses. So, interlock your fingers behind your back and raise your hands away from your spine. Fold forward, bring your forehead down onto the floor, and then just stay here or roll your crown onto the floor and take your hips off your heels. If you're an absolute beginner, then you should start with this posture so that you can understand how your head would feel in a headstand. This is a great way to begin your headstand journey, especially if you're interested in doing an unassisted headstand with no support behind you. So, maybe you'd like to include this as part of your daily routine or anytime you're on the mat, but make sure that your body is warm before you practice this pose. I have a 10-minute video like this for you guys, which will be linked up in the cards, which are my top 5 favorite poses to prepare for a headstand, especially if you're a beginner. This focuses on the 5 asanas that I think are really helpful to improve your headstand practice and warm up your body just enough, making sure to use the right muscle groups that you will also require to hold a headstand eventually. Make sure to check out the link in the cards, but it will also be mentioned in the description box below. So, when you get comfortable in that basic version of a headstand, you can place both your forearms down on the floor and place them in a triangle with your elbows pointing outwards. You will interlock your fingers and your palm will be in contact with the back of your head when you bring your crown onto the floor. So, to make sure that you have the perfect base, uninterlock your fingers just once again and make a fist with your right hand and place it on the inner corner of your left elbow. Make sure that your fist and the inner part of your elbow are touching. So, move your elbow if you need to closer to that fist and bring your right hand back to the top of your triangle. To be absolutely sure that we have the perfect base, you will interlock your left hand as well and place it on the inner corner of your right elbow just to make sure that we have an equilateral triangle. Okay, now this forms the perfect base for our headstand, and you'll go ahead and place the crown of your head onto the top of your triangle, making sure that your palms are in contact with the back of your head. This is going to be your base position to lift your legs off from. So you're going to maintain this pose once again for as long as you're comfortable. Make sure to keep your eyes open and breathe naturally. And when you're feeling like your heart rate is going up and you're unable to breathe or you're feeling claustrophobic, then bring your hips back down and roll off your crown, coming back up into your Vajrasana or any pose of your choice. So let's do that one more time, making sure to check the base again so that we have that equilateral triangle. Roll your crown onto the floor so that the back of your head is touching your palm and take your hips off your heels. This is how you're going to remain for the next few weeks until you can really neutralize your breathing, slow down your heart rate, and you'll know when you feel comfortable in this pose. So remember that each one of us is different, and something that might take me a couple of weeks might only take you a couple of days. So on that note, come back off onto your Vajrasana and let me show you from here, once you're comfortable after a couple of weeks, how you can progress to the next stage of your headstand. So always make sure that you have that perfect base by checking that it's an equilateral triangle with your fists. Come off onto your crown and lift your hips off the floor. Now you're going to tuck your toes under so that you can lift your knees off the floor when you're feeling comfortable. So maybe you'd like to move your knees slightly behind so that you can tuck your toes, and make sure that you're always feeling comfortable in the posture and making adjustments so that you remain that way. So you're going to remain here just to understand how this posture will feel, because when you take your knees off the floor, then it can be slightly disorienting. So remember to remain here, breathing and keeping your eyes open at all times. Come out of the pose anytime you're feeling claustrophobic or like your heart rate is going high. Now that I've cautioned you enough, we'll try to go ahead and lift the knees off the floor after a couple of weeks or however long it takes you to be comfortable in the previous two poses. When you want to come out of this pose, remember to bring your knees down to the ground and then lift your head off, coming back into a naturally upright position once again, just to get hold of your breathing and become a little bit more calmer. When you're ready, you can go ahead and try that a couple of more times, slowly lifting your knees off and staying here for as long as you feel comfortable. This whole routine took me around 6 months to remain here and really get my head used to the weight of my body. So it's not going to feel too different when you take your legs off the floor either. Just remember to stay here so that you can be really comfortable remaining upside down, because that is what is going to help you when you're coming into an unassisted headstand, because you have no support behind you and we want to try to remain as injury free as possible. Let's now look at how to progress from this posture by using the toes to shift the balance slightly closer towards the head. Coming back into that headstand position, taking the knees off the floor, we're going to try to walk the feet closer to the head. So tiptoe your feet such that you will be able to bring your feet a little bit closer towards the head. What this does is bring your spine in a vertical position such that it is perpendicular to the floor. So maybe let's try that one more time, this time looking at why it's super important to keep your spine perpendicular to the floor. Keeping your spine in this position will ensure that your hips are stacked directly over your shoulders and that your shoulders and your hips can bear the weight of your lower limbs. From here, you will eventually be able to take one leg off the floor by bending it into a tuck position. And there you go, you'll be entirely standing on your head and having used no support at all. But please remember, when you're done, you should always come into a Shashankasana or maybe even a Shavasana to really decompress the spine and neutralize your breathing. It's very important to practice counter poses after a headstand because we've just compressed the entire spinal column by standing on our head. So in order to decompress, we will practice Tadasana, and here I'm practicing a modified version of a Tadasana by coming into a Vajrasana and raising the hands above the head, interlocking the fingers and stretching up towards the ceiling. But go ahead and practice a full-fledged Tadasana if you can, between 5 to 7 rounds, really focusing on decompressing the spine. Please remember to always practice this at the end of every headstand attempt because it will ensure that you can remain injury-free. My number one tip would be to record yourself every time you do a headstand, just so that you can look back on it and see just how much progress you're making. But if you'd like to ask me any further questions, then go ahead and send me a little clip of you doing a headstand over on my Instagram handle, which will be linked below in the description box. I hope I was able to simplify that process a little bit for you, and I wish you the best of luck on your headstand journey. Leave your suggestions down below on any further headstand videos I could make. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.